You're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup with me, Roisin the Cleric.
And me, Paul Brophy.
The county councillors are the forgotten powerhouse of the Irish political system. And that's one thing here on the Irish Political Roundups, County Councillors Caucus Roundtable. And that's why we give a panel and a programme to our county councillors to ensure that they are not the forgotten powerhouse of the political system.
Yes, indeed, Roisin. And joining us on today's episode of the County Council Roundtable Caucus, we're joined by some familiar faces and some new faces. Our familiar face joining us this evening is Councillor Aisling Moran, who is an independent councillor who represents the Portarlington Graiguecullen local electorate area on Laois County Council. Aisling was first elected in 2019 as a Fine Gael councillor and left the party in 2023 and has been an independent ever since. In the 2024 local elections, Aisling increased her vote, and she also contested the Dáil election in the Laois constituency as an independent candidate. And outside of politics, Aisling runs a travel agency in Athy in County Kildare. And continuing the theme of female participants here on the programme, we're joined by Councillor Catherine Burke, who's a member of Sinn Fein, and she represents the Kilmacthomas local electoral area on Waterford City and County Council. Catherine was first elected in 2024, and since her election, she has highlighted a number of issues, particularly around the need for improvements in local services and local infrastructure, particularly the Bunmahon water treatment plant. And last but by no means least, we're joined by Fianna Fáil councillor Pat O'Gorman, who represents the Shannon local electoral area on Clare County Council. Pat was co-opted onto Clare County Council in 2020 after Cathal Crowe was elected TD for Clare. But Pat is certainly no stranger to politics. From 1999 to 2004, Pat was a member of Clare County Council and was a former mayor of Clare as well. And in 2024, Pat retained his seat in his own right, and he's also a former chair of the Shannon Municipal District. So you're all very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Paul and Roisin.
Thank you, Roisin.
Usually on the programme, what we start off with the county councils with things that you're bringing up, either at your local county council, any motions, or even what you're hearing at the doors, or any issues that you're bringing up, or what your constituents are all contacting you about. And then after that, then we give the floor to all of you to have a discussion amongst yourselves about different issues. And after all, it is the County Councillors Caucus Roundtable. But we'll hit it off, as Aisling has been with us before. We'll hit it off with Councillor Aisling Moran. Councillor Moran, what is happening in your area? What are you bringing up, or what issues are your constituents talking about?
Well, I suppose a couple of things, actually. The main thing this month, for me anyway, was roads, because with all the bad weather that we had, roads are in absolute bits. And we in Laois got 18 million on the roads budget, and I suppose we've about 1.8% of the road network. So I've been complaining that we should have been receiving a minimum of 30 million, but we've only got 18 million. And I think if the government are serious about road safety and about saving lives, we actually need to do something more and put more money into roads, because they're using a tar at the moment, eco-friendly type tar, which is 80% water-based or 70% water-based, which means it's like just like an emulsion on the wall. When you wash it, you can wash it, it comes off. But a glass which is more oil-based will keep the tar on the roads. But I just see when it gets cold, when it freezes, the tar cracks. The road starts to crack, and when it rains or if there's a lot of flooding, it's just washing the roads away. And I'm sure Catherine and Pat can see that as well, right across right across the country, we have had nothing but roads like broken up all over the place. So I suppose that's one of the things I'm looking at. Another one is on disabilities, where I have people say with disabilities and cannot get parking outside their own house, and where there would be maybe other houses which would have had maybe a person with a disability in it and had a disability parking space outside it, and maybe has passed away or whatever, but not moving. I think there needs to be kind of updating on the disability parking spaces. I also trying, and I'm bringing up again this month or maybe next month, about live streaming. I don't know. I think Waterford might do it. Do we live streaming of council meetings or recordings of the council meetings? In Laois, I just think that as democratically elected people, and we're elected by the people, that they should be able to see what we actually are doing. And meeting times don't really suit everybody. They can't come out of work and come in and see what's going on. And if they were recorded, and a number of councils are, I think it's 16 councils at the moment, are actually recording their meetings. And it's brilliant for the staff as well, because everything is kind of documented, and for minutes, every time someone speaks, it's a new set of minutes and everything. So I think it's something that maybe it's a discussion that needs to be had at national level, because the councils themselves, it's up to the councillors, and they're voting against it because I suppose they don't want to see what's going on. And then the other couple of things I had were driving tests. I think we need to do something on the driving tests. A lot of kids that just cannot get driving tests on time, and maybe looking at changing the rules. Again, that's tying in with road safety and all the rest. And that's kind of really it. I suppose the other gripe I had is to do with the prayer. I don't know, do you do it at your council? I'm not religious. I don't really mind what religion anybody is or what beliefs people have, but I think church and state need to have a clear divide. And in our council, there's a prayer before our meeting, and I don't think I think it's something that we need to change. So I'd just like to know what your opinions are on it, Catherine and Pat.
Well, before we go to Catherine and Pat, maybe we'll talk about the prayer later. I understand exactly what you're talking about with the tar. So I'll come to that first, because my son lives out in Cllr, and they were putting in all the wind turbines. And for about a full, say, 6 months, we couldn't get out the road. So they put brand new tarmac on the roads. 2 weeks later, after the bad weather, there's all holes and potholes. And when you think how much it costs to put tar, isn't it 100 and something thousand per kilometer or something?
100,000
Yeah.
to tar 1 kilometre of road
And then two
on
weeks
average.
later, there's holes, there's potholes. So I completely understand that one. And Councillor Catherine Burke down in Waterford, what are the issues coming up in the doors and with your constituents, and what are you bringing to the county council?
Well, thanks for having me on first, Roisin and Paul. I suppose I'm incredibly lucky to live along the Copper Coast in Waterford. It's 17 kilometres of some of the most stunning coastline in the country, in my own humble opinion. Protecting and promoting it is incredibly important to me. Issues like coastal erosion and beach maintenance and I suppose sustainable tourism come up all the time. I'm also, as Aisling said, road maintenance is a huge issue that we're dealing with constantly. The condition of our rural roads is a daily frustration for everyone. So at the moment in Waterford, anyway, the level of government funding means that roads are upgraded and resurfaced every 61 years. That should be, to keep a proper road network going, it should be every 20 years. So you can see the absolute gap in that, and the challenges that we face. I suppose another huge part of my work involves housing representation for people across the district. I live in a rural area, the Cllr district in Waterford. Paul was correct in saying I represent the Portlaw Kilmacthomas LEA, but the district is the Cllr municipal district, and it's made up of 26 villages and 2 small towns. So housing is at crisis point. In Waterford, there are very few private rental properties available. Families and individuals who want to work and live locally just can't find somewhere to rent. And at the same time, the number of houses being built or for private sale is falling well short. And also then for people on the social housing list, the situation in Waterford, and particularly in my area in the Cumber district, it's typically a 5 to 6 year wait list for a social house on the choice-based letting system. So I meet with people regularly who are trying to raise families, hold down jobs, or care for relatives while living in overcrowded homes or temporary accommodation. Like, so much of my work involves like representing families, advocating on their behalf within the council, and pushing for increased housing delivery so that people can live with security and dignity. Another area of work, I suppose, that we do is we advocate for services and supports in communities. So we look at grant funding and try to bring, I suppose, an easy way to explain and to tell community groups and services what kind of grants are available for them. Something that I'm working hard on at the moment as well is transport. So we have a wonderful local link service in our area, the rural bus route. It's been fantastic support for people across Waterford. It allows older people, young people, and say those without access to cars to stay connected. Advocating for the continuation and expansion of these services is huge. Just this week, I'm dealing with nearly a double fare increase in local link fares, which obviously will bring people with cars back to cars, and people without cars suffer the brunt of that, you know. And it obviously will have a decline in passenger numbers if people aren't finding it financially viable. You mentioned water infrastructure as well. Yeah, water infrastructure has been huge on my year and a half as an elected representative. We have constant do not consume notices, boil water notices, and supply disruptions in the Cumber district. And then on top of that, our wastewater infrastructure is not viable. It needs investment, and needs investment, 50 years ago, not today, but so it's something I'm constantly bringing up at council level. There was, I suppose, another thing I wanted to mention actually was how I feel strongly for government in Ireland to be less centralised and to give more authority and flexibility to local authorities. I think too many decisions that affect communities are made too far away from the people they impact. Councillors and local authorities understand the needs of their areas better because we live and work here every day. I think greater local decision making would allow councils to respond more quickly to the bread and butter issues. I think that's what I'm working on at the moment.
There's a lot there, like all county councillors. And now over to Councillor Pat O'Gorman, Fianna Fáil councillor down in County Clare. So, Councillor O'Gorman, what are you bringing up at the council? What is issues are coming up in County Clare, and what are people talking about?
Well, Roisin, first of all, thank you and thank Paul for inviting me onto the podcast this evening. There's a lot of things happening in County Clare, as always is, but just to touch on a few for a few minutes. And I suppose when I spoke to Paul there last week in organising this show tonight, the N18 and the M18 that runs down through the spine of County Clare from Galway down to Limerick City, we have a major issue in relation to crashes on this motorway and dual carriageway, especially around my own area of Cratloe, Bunmahon, Newmarket and Fergus, which would be in the Shannon Municipal District. And every time one of these crashes happen, the road is closed off for maybe a couple of hours on end. It is the main thoroughfare into Shannon Airport, into the Shannon Industrial Estate. It is bringing 10,000 people every day into the industrial area in Shannon. So you can imagine the mayhem that happens on all the roads leading off of the dual carriageway when there is a major crash on the road. And I suppose a motion that we had down in Clare County Council was for the TII to open the counterflow systems that's on the road. When they relayed the surface on this motorway last year and the year before, they were able to open the counterflow system so all the traffic would go on one side of the carriageway while they were relaying the other side, but they don't seem to be able to do it when there's a major crash on the road. That was something we looked for. And I suppose the other thing is then we asked the TII to do a review of the reason why these crashes was happening. I suppose a lot of it would be down to driver behaviour and maybe rushing at rush hour, because it always seems to be 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning or 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, especially the busiest times when these things happen. So I suppose that's one thing in particular. And Another thing is, and it's a major topic here in County Clare this week, where Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeil announced during the week that they were going to put in a new hospital in Limerick City, 2 kilometres away from UHL. We here in County Clare was hoping, since they downgraded Innes and they downgraded Nina at the other side of Limerick, that we might get something in County Clare, as in a new hospital. We were talking at council meetings about locating maybe a site if it came up, that we would have a site ready. I suppose this new hospital is going to be only 2 kilometres away from UHL. So you can imagine it'll be great for the people living maybe around where I'm living here in Cratloe, 6 Mile Bridge in that area, which is bounds in Limerick City. But 40% of the people living in the county of Clare is living more than an hour away from Limerick City. And if you go back to Loophead, you'll be familiar with Loophead Lighthouse, and that area of West Clare, that would be actually about an hour and 40 minutes from Limerick City. I've attended a lot of meetings in relation to the hospital and the hospital group that they had over time, and we always hear about the golden mile, the golden hour. If you fall down with a heart attack or a stroke in West Clare and you're more than an hour away from help, you're in trouble. So if you're an hour and 40 minutes away from a new hospital that they're building in the outskirts of Limerick City, that's not going to be much good to you in that stage. And I suppose there's one more thing here in my own area then as well, where we have Shannon Airport, bouncing where we're in the middle of here this year in Cratloe, when actually all that area would be bouncing around the town of Shannon, a new town in our area, which is only there for the last 40, 50 years. But it's a regional airport. It was diagnosed or put in as a regional airport there recently, and there was 45 million capital funding allocated by Darragh O'Brien's department. And we had 2.3 million passengers last year alone. So it is great. It is a good news story. It has been put in with Kerry, Knock, Donegal, and Shannon all putting together for this funding. And 19 million of this can be drawn down this year. So it's funding for airports that has under 3 million passengers. The brackets were opened up to 3 million, and that allows Shannon in. So it was a welcome boost for the area and the region. Okay, thank you.
Well, that's certainly good news to Councillor, to call you deputy, Councillor Catherine Burke's ears to hear about the news of tourism. And Aisling is also a travel agent. But before we get there, Aisling asked a question and about prayer. What are your thoughts on that? And what we'll do is we'll leave now this part of the program open for all of you just to sort of have a nice casual conversation with one another. So prayer, do you think it should be taken out or kept in the county council meetings?
I have no issue with it anyway.
Sorry, Pat? I
said I wouldn't have any issue with it. I wouldn't be a practicing Catholic either. Wouldn't be going to mass too often, but I don't seem to have an issue with the prayer before every council meeting either.
Yeah, I feel similar. I don't have a particular issue with it myself. I feel that it is maybe tradition, or maybe there's some kind of historical and mindful reason for it, I suppose.
Yeah, and I just think with our society, we've a multicultural society and with different religions, and I suppose the way I see it is we're starting a meeting and with a prayer, where I think we should be doing a reflection. 1 minute, let people kind of say a prayer in their own head if they want. Let them do some kind of what's the word that they use that they're trying to get all these kids to do now as well. But that you're spending the minute beforehand, meditation or whatever it is. But something beforehand. It shouldn't be. I think we shouldn't be kind of forced into saying a prayer. And I don't have an issue with any prayer. And I mean, if I'm in mass, I say a prayer. But I just think church and state, there should be a complete divide between church and state. And I don't feel that there should be a Catholic prayer beforehand.
Yeah, I think there's fair points there.
And
Airports, travel, that's coming up. So, Councillor Ashley Moran, you're in the travel industry, and
Yes.
we both have the new Waterford Airport coming up, and we were talking about the Shannon Airport. The travel and the tourist industry in Ireland will. Do you do mostly external travel, Ashling, outside the country, or is it both?
Yeah, we do some in, but mostly out. And we do a lot of group tours. It's mostly bringing
Oh,
people. We do a few different countries, and groups of from 20 to 100.
all right.
Yeah, so it's good. But I do see now with oil prices and with this war, which is another big issue that we all have to kind of contend with at the moment. I think, you're going to see fuel prices going through the roof. I was out on a trip there for the last 5 days. We did from Cologne down to Strasbourg, went to the European Parliament, and came back home then. But the cost of that bus fill is over €1,000 more.
Right.
So that's going to have a knock-on effect for the price of holidays. It's going to have a knock-on effect for you've all these trucks that are bringing food and clothing and whatever. That's also going to have a knock-on effect on the cost of living. And I just think the government really need to step in. Diesel heating out. I luckily filled the morning that the war broke out. I rang and filled my tank. And I was very lucky to do so, but an awful lot of people didn't, and the price went up over, I think, over 500 and €600 a litre more, which I think is scandalous. But I was listening to one of the guys from the oil companies, and he was saying, over 70% of our costs are taxes that the government, and in May, the carbon tax is coming in. That's going to put a huge amount. That's going to add probably to a full tank of petrol, or full tank of kerosene is going to probably cost probably about 160 or €180 more in
I was in the
taxes.
supermarket yesterday, and a lady in front of me, she just had a small box of groceries, and it came to €99. And I said, God, I must have didn't miss the trolley, the shopping trolley. So I thought nothing of it. And then she looked and she asked the cashier, says, can you just check that? And the cashier says, before the cashier told you the price, the cashier had shock on her face. And she said it was like she was frightened to tell her the price. You know how you can just notice. And so then anyway, the lady said to me, oh my God, the cost of living. She said, look at that box. And so she invited me to join the conversation. And she said, that's all I have, a box, and it's €99. It wasn't a big box, it was just about that size. And she went, and the cashier said, every day I see the shock on people's faces at the cost of the checkout of the groceries.
Yeah.
And she said more and more. She said it hurts me sitting here having to tell the customers the price of the groceries.
But can I just Petrol Gorman here? Can I just mention something there in relation to carbon tax?
Yeah.
And I think it's a very unfair tax to a degree, because if you're living in the likes, we'll just say, well, we're living here near Limerick City, we'll say, and you have the train and you have bus services and everything else, I have no problem with that, with the carbon tax in a situation like that. But you're talking there about the price of diesel. If you're a farmer and you have to make your silage now, we'll say in 2 months' time, you have no choice only to fill your tractor with diesel. There's no such thing as an electric tractor. You can't buy it if you wanted to get it. It's not there. You have to fill your car with diesel, or your tractor with diesel. You have to fill your car with diesel to go to the shop or the school if you're living in a rural area, and still you're being penalised with a carbon tax when there is no other alternative there. If you have a lorry load of cattle that you want to take to the factory to be slaughtered, or the mart to sell them, how do you take them? Unless you walk them along the road like 100 years ago. You have to take them in a lorry. You have to put the diesel into the lorry, and you're being penalised again. So, like, it's a carbon tax, and I understand where it's coming from, and I understand that it's been spent in retrofitting houses and all the rest of it. But I think it should be more targeted, especially to areas. And I'd have no problem with paying carbon tax if there was a bus passing my door every half an hour that I could get onto to go to work or go to Limerick or go wherever. And if I chose to use my car then after that, well, penalise me for doing that. But the farmer that has to give out as I said, the silage, and has to put out the slurry and all the rest of it, they have no alternative only to fill their tractors and their work equipment with diesel.
And when you think about it too, the percentage of carbon tax that is taxed on a tank of petrol is, you know, we're paying more tax than what we are for petrol, you know. So, and two, our farmers is our food supply, our food source and resource. We should be looking after our farmers a lot more, and
But
our local.
you're actually going around in circles, because you put the carbon tax on the diesel, the farmer pays for it, and what happens then? That's put onto the food.
Yeah.
That's put onto the price of the cattle, that's put onto the price of the carrots and pass up to whatever else. It's just a vicious circle.
Yeah, and from a rural-urban divide, like if you're living in a town or city and you have buses and trains and all the rest, you know, it's not so bad. But when you're living in the country, like for me to get a train, I would with no car, I would have to walk 15 kilometers or cycle on narrow roads that are not suffice, you know, for buses and whatever else. So they have to they can't, I think the government are very wrong. I understand a carbon tax, but to put it on, unless you put in the infrastructure, and there was, you know, Ireland received so much money from the EU in relation to infrastructure, putting in roads and putting in railways and networks like that, and it wasn't done. And you know, it should have been done at that time. And now everyone that's living in the country has been penalised by this. You know, we don't have bus services. We don't have, if to drop kids to school, you can't let them cycle. They won't put in greenways or cycle lanes, so kids can't cycle safely on the road. You know, if you want to take cars off the road, put in the cycle lanes, put in the footpaths. You know, provide the trains and the bus services, and then people have no problem. It works. You look at other European countries; people are happy to not bring their car, whereas we don't have a choice.
And we don't have the weather either.
No.
That's
No,
true. That's
yeah,
true.
I agree with my colleagues here. I think the carbon tax is unjust, and there is a huge rural-urban divide there. And I think Aisling has it spot on there. The infrastructure needs to be invested in, and it's interesting that you mentioned greenways, because we have a fabulous greenway in Waterford. It's wonderful, and we love the amenity. But the greenways came from railway lines, which is public transport.
That's right, yeah.
And why can't we have both? Why can't we have a train servicing rural areas as well as, you know, a greenway cycle walk track?
Completely, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
And
joined up thinking.
No.
Sorry, Paul.
I even thought myself coming home this evening, diesel was 205, and I just, you know, when you hear it, but when you actually see it for the first time and you're fast and you go, wow, that's is a first. But on the 1st of May, the carbon tax is supposed to go up. Like when we talk about the government and the surpluses that it has in regards to tax, they could easily pause that or suspend that for the next couple of months and still, you know, meet their financial targets. So, you know, realistically, something is going to have to be done there.
And also, Paul, the dearer the petrol and diesel and the home heating I go, is the more take the government has out of it. You know, so it is a double-edged sword from a consumer point of view.
Yeah, because they're allowing them, like the oil is going up, which you can understand why the oil is going up. But the government should be saying, okay, well, the oil is going up. We need to reduce our taxes on this because people can't afford. So why aren't they keeping the petrol and diesel at 170 or 165? You know, they are able to bring it down. And the amount of money that comes in from those taxes, I think. So I think the government needs to step up here.
There needs to be something put in place in times of what is happening now. The same way that they did during COVID. There was when money was needed during the COVID crisis, money was pumped in. And now we're in a similar situation now, especially with our food supply, our food resources, and the cost of living crisis. Something should be done. Talk about trains, like we have more greenways here, cycle lanes here in Kilkenny, and no one cycles on the cycle lanes. And we've done a couple of programs with that, with the active travel, you know, the big cycle lanes, and no joined up thinking and making the roads smaller. But also the train tracks. My daughter lives in Cork. Carving tax. For me to go and visit my daughter in Cork, it's like a tank of petrol down, a tank of petrol back up now, especially with the prices. there's no, you would think, as you mentioned, Aisling, that the European Parliament gave so much money for the infrastructure here, and yet our train infrastructure is worse than it was 100 years ago. 100 years ago, we had more train tracks and train infrastructure than what we've got now.
It was stopping everywhere. It was going even in the short distance from Carlow to Athy, which is kind of I'm in Laois, but Carlow and Athy would be my nearest towns. And to go from Carlow on the Dublin route, there was Carlow, then it stopped in Maganey, then it went on, which is 3 miles from me. So and then it goes on to Kildare, onto Athy. So in that 20 kilometres, there were three train stops. You know, and I think it's really important that they bring that back. It's in every other country they can do it. But I think it's Catherine brought up a point earlier on about centralised government. And that is a really important thing because the Council of Europe in 2023, I think, did a report, and Ireland has one of the lowest, we have one of the worst local government systems in the world, because what we do, we have the lowest number of municipal districts per head. I think it works out at about 149,000, where their averages could be down to 25 and 30,000 people that have been looked after. But we look after governments, or councils should be looking after maybe 1,100 services, and we only get 8% of the centralised budget. So if you have everything coming from central government, and the likes of Dublin and Cork and Galway, they have more TDs, so of course they're going to get more funding. So the likes of Laois with 3 TDs, we get minute funding, like I was saying about the roads, 18 million instead of 30 million, like half of an allocation that we should be getting. And I just think that something has to be done in that way. 8%, every other European average would be getting 23% of the central funding to work the county. In Ireland, we only get 8%.
Right.
So it's that's a serious thing. Sorry, Catherine, go ahead.
No, I said your point is absolutely spot on, and the only way like local authorities can raise funds is through a tax on your home, or rates increases for local businesses, and absolutely capital funding is just so lacking in the sense that every time something comes up and I raise at the council that government should be funding this, it should be coming from central government, our budget should be topped up by central government. And the answer is, raise the local property tax, or raise the rates on businesses. It's not good enough.
No, or parking. So whilst we're paying all the taxes,
we don't have any parking in my district, actually.
Oh, you're lucky. But I just think it's bananas. Like, we're getting all this money, you're paying your taxes, it's going into central government. Central government are supposed to be giving out over 23, 24%, 28% of it back out to the councils to run. Like, our health isn't run really that much from the council. Our bins are gone, our water is gone. Everything is centrally funded, so we don't have the money there. Even our roads, everything is kind of gone. Where we are suffering. So we've now paid our taxes, and then to get services in our area, we have to pay extra money on parking, or we have to pay extra money on our property tax, and it's going back to the people. So we just seem to be paying more money on everything to provide services that we're not getting.
And even if we...
Sorry, Pat?
Right.
We'll just say the likes of the town of Shannon. Most of the town of Shannon, the early part of it was built in the 60s. And very few people had motor cars that time, not one here and there along the road. So the houses were built to kind of without parking spaces. Nowadays, most houses have 2 and 3 cars, a minimum of 2 anyway. And a lot of the children would have cars as well once they come up 18, 19 and 20. And no place to park the car. There's areas of Shannon where the actual roadway that's supposed to be a roadway for traffic to drive on is a car park, with cars parked full into it every day. And you touched on roads there a minute ago, and we had a roads meeting today here in County Clare, where they were telling us about the amount of funding they can do from central government, our own resources and everything else. But there was just one thing that stood out of the whole meeting was we'll be doing between 5.5% and 5.8% of roads in County Clare this year. The department are telling us we should be doing 10%, but they sent us down even less than that because we had a lot of our own resources into it. So this would be down around maybe 4.5% if we took our own money out of it. And that's the money that you're talking about there a minute ago coming from the ratepayers or whatever else to make up the shortfall. And we're still miles behind. We're about 4.5% behind in the amount of roads that we should be doing as a minimum. And that's the department is saying that 10% of all roads in the county should be done. And with the money we sent down, even with our own resources, about 5.5% of the road will be done. So that'll just tell you what we're getting from central government is only pennies compared to what we should be getting.
Yeah. And even if you compare Ireland, say, to our neighbours in the UK or other parts of the country, local government has a big say in the likes of education and not housing, of course, has a big say in things like childcare, waste collection, water. You know, there's so much more that local authorities could do if they were given the resources. So how do we get to a situation where we can see more powers kind of being brought back locally? Do we
Well,
bring
they
back
have to.
do we bring back town councils? Do we use a different method?
Well, the Council of Europe has asked for a report, and Ireland has to come back with some kind of. You guys probably have heard of it, the local government task force that has been set up. So that's been set up to change local government and to bring back powers into the Parliament or into the council rather than in the the way it is at the moment in central government, and like even down to roads there that you were saying earlier on, Paul, like a kilometre of cycle lane or a small narrow road is 4 million euros. Is what it costs. Like the cost can't be that much money. I can't see how it's that much money. But that's why they're saying like we're getting, I think 17 kilometres, I think it is, of roads done in Laois. Yeah, 13 kilometres in our area. We're getting 13 kilometres strengthened, and we're getting, I think it's something like 16 kilometres, if I'm correct, 24 kilometres surface dressed. So just the tar and chip, and some of it is recycled. So how are you supposed to get around Laois when in our district alone, that's all we're getting?
That's
Like I was
exactly
saying
right.
earlier, the figure quote or the I suppose the numbers quoted to us at our roads meeting the other day was in our district we have enough funding to redress the roads every 61 years, whereas to keep a road network viable, you need to do it every 20 years.
Yeah, and sooner even now with the amount of traffic that's on it.
Like, it's spending all this money, which is great. I've no issue. But for cycle lanes that children or no adults don't use, children don't use it for school. That we don't have the weather. The books in the school bags are too heavy. They don't use it. Like, where is the common sense in planning and make decision making when they might say like, oh, plant the build the cycle lanes and people will cycle. It's still not encouraging children or adults to cycle. People, it's just not viable here in Ireland.
But it's not, you see, in Ireland, in most of our cycle lanes, you look at them, they're a metre wide. So when you're on your bicycle is a metre wide. And if you move any way off that, you're outside the cycle lane, basically. Any wobbles, they're not safe. In other European countries, it's a minimum of 6 foot. 6 or 7 foot, like it has to be 2 meters wide, which is right. And like we're spending all this money. I see in some of the counties, you drive through towns and the little tiny narrow cycle lanes, and there is nobody on them. But then when you go into towns where they have the wider cycle lanes, the kids are using them to cycle to school. More people are using them. You go to the Netherlands, and what the Netherlands did in one area, I'm trying to think of the name, but I can't think of the name of the town at the moment, but it'll come to me. What
Utrecht,
they
I
did,
think.
it's near Utrecht. Near Utrecht.
Yeah.
It's outside Utrecht. Have you been?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they did was they took a greenfield site and they built a town. And the town, if you imagine a cake, a big round cake, and it has all these slices, and each slice is a housing estate. And between the slices are cycle lanes and footpaths. And around it then is the roadway. So if you want to come out of one of the housing estates to go to the one beneath you, you have to come out in a car and drive all the way around. But if you're walking or cycling, you can go to any of them. And in the centre is a town. So we should be designing our towns. Like I believe that we should be having like a 20-year master plan on what we want our towns and villages to be like. And then every 5 years that we can change it or we can update it or a new idea has come out or we can, we can change them around a little bit. But our county development plans up to now were 5 to 7 years. Now we're talking about a 10-year plan. And some of the councillors aren't happy about a 10-year plan because they think, it's outside of the timeline that we're, our what do you call it? Our time
Action
is
cycle.
our term, yeah, our term is. So, I don't know. I think that they're going to have to start thinking differently if they're going to move. And I think if you do build it, people will come if it's safe. I don't think the ones in Ireland are safe yet. Like even the junction tightening, we're spending millions of euros just tightening these junctions with these stupid red poles or orange poles or whatever coming out. Trucks can't get in or can't get out. Cars, an oil lorry has to come into your house and they can't get in because they can't turn. They're pulling them out of it. Then they have to replace them. It's costing them more money. So it's just, I think there's no joined up thinking. I think there's a lot of stuff. We're not when plans have been made. Like it's easy to sit down and make a plan on a page, but I think a lot of them aren't going out and actually looking at it. Like in Portlaoise on one of our main roads, kind of going up to junction 17, going up to the motorway, they have reduced the size of the road and they've put all these bollards the whole way up along so that people actually can't, the cars can't, if you have a lorry going into your house, you can't turn coming back out of it.
And we were talking.
And these measures have been put in place, as far as I understand it anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to slow down traffic.
Slow
They're
down
calling
traffic,
them traffic calming measures.
traffic calm, yeah.
And
But
mm,
when you're coming into the town, the TII have it coming in that they're trying to speed up the traffic coming into the town. So they want everything to be, they're trying to get all these 80-kilometre zones closer to the town, instead of further away and trying to slow the traffic down. In some cases, we would be coming into a roundabout at 80 kilometres and then you stop. Like I think, that we have to do, there's a lot more planning like that in Utrecht and that Houghton was the other place, or Houghton. But in there, like the cycle lanes, you can go, and in Germany, in France, in the Netherlands, you can go from the north to the south to the east to the west without ever going out onto a main road. You can cycle the length and breadth of the country. And that's what you need. If you do that, people will come. And you look at, Catherine, at the moment, the Blue Way or the Greenway down in Waterford. Look at the amount of people that it has on it now. Look what it has done for Dungarvan. How it has built
absolutely.
vitality.
No, it runs right through my district. So it starts in Dungarvan, ends in Waterford. It's 46 kilometres long. I do have to say, yeah, I didn't cycle before the Greenway in Waterford myself, but even I cycle now. So you do, like, it is safe. It's a lovely place to be. It's a lovely place to be on. One of the issues we have with it actually is we haven't got a lot of public toilets on it.
Yeah.
So if you're running or cycling on the Greenway, you have to hold for a long time.
Or jump into the ditch.
Bring
Yeah.
Lero with you in the cycle bag.
Yeah, exactly. There's a new idea now.
There's
as
problem
well,
solved.
sorry.
Roisin, can I just touch on planning there for a minute as well, and
Yes.
what the two girls are talking about there? But we all, as you all know, we all do up a development plan every year, and you're touching on it there. But they're crying out for houses, as you know, in every county in Ireland. But we sat down and we spent months drawing up a county development plan that was sent up to the department to be rubber stamped, only to get it back down again with an awful lot of the land that we had proposed to be zoned, taken out of the development plan again because there wasn't sufficient sewerage and water facilities in place and whatever else. Facilities that weren't there. The department said you can't build there because this isn't there and that's not there. Then they go and they tell us that we have to vary the plan, so we're doing a variation at the moment. And they're encouraging us now to put back in the land again they took out only 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And no storage or nothing has changed in the meantime. Now they're talking about putting these package plants in place. And from our experience around the country and around the county, they work for a while, but long term they don't work either. And they're talking about maybe putting them in place, build 40 houses here, 50 houses there, put a package plant in place. And there will be major problems with them down the line rather than the government biting the bullet and putting in the proper facilities in these towns and villages. My neighbouring town here of 6 Mile Bridge, it is bursting at the seams at the moment with development, all because it has a sewage treatment plant that can take the development. They got a brand new school only up there about, I suppose, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and even the school is coming to capacity now at the moment again, even though it was built for long term. There's no secondary school in the area, even though there's 3 or 4, maybe 500 houses built in the last 4 or 5 years there. So, we'll just go back to what you're talking there about forward planning. There is no forward planning. The only reason that the houses are being built in 6 Mile Bridge at the moment, and not Newmarket and Fergus, or not Cratloe, not any place else, is because they have a sewage treatment plant that's able to cater for the development. And that's not forward planning, because you can't get out over the bridge there. There's a river flowing down through the village. And I'm not against development by any means. I'm just making the point that this development should be spread out more. And it's the government's fault that they wouldn't put these treatment plants into more towns and villages and let the towns and villages then grow equally rather than having it just in one corner. Roisin Municipal District here in Shannon, I don't want to be hogging it now, but Innes, of course, is our major town, right? That's our county town. Shannon is our second biggest town, and now 6 Mile Bridge is our third biggest town. A town that I went to national school in, where there was only 2 or 3 housing estates at the time, and now they're going out every single road. So, like, we have the smallest municipal district, but we have the biggest population. Sorry, Catherine.
No, you just hit on something that's very close to my heart, Pat. We in my local community, I live in a village here on the Copper Coast, like I said, and we don't have adequate treatment for wastewater, and houses cannot connect to main sewage because it's at capacity. It's actually overflowing. We have 3 septic tanks in the village, and they're they need to be desludged regularly. We're not getting investment. Our local school numbers are declining. Businesses can't set up, houses can't be built. There's people having to leave and go to the urban areas rather than living in rural County Waterford because we can't get the investment for wastewater infrastructure. And like it isn't a huge investment that we're asking for. And like you said, there are towns then who are dealing with I suppose, the influx of people when there's rural villages like the one I live in, wishing that we could house people.
Yeah, and Irish Water are getting such fun. They're getting funding and charging an arm and a leg to people to put. And like the councils are putting in all the sewerage and the water, and the builders have to put it in now. And at least now the developers can kind of put it in, which is a good idea. But like Irish Water, what are they doing? Like they should be putting in that was privatized. They were supposed to be looking after our water and wastewater sewerage. And it's not been done at all. We're actually worse off now, and it's costing us more money.
No, and we can't get answers from them either as local representatives. We're people sitting here with mandates from the people and trying to get answers about this particular wastewater situation is terribly difficult. And you've been told you're on a priority list and you're a priority 4, and they're dealing with priority 1s. It's just terribly frustrating trying to get a straight answer from Cllr.
Yeah.
Is it
And then
is
because
it
of all the flooding that's going on in the area, all the ground is saturated, hence all the septic tanks are backing up and filling up. So it's everything, there's such a knock-on effect. Everything is kind of just knock one on to the next thing. And
And you see what's happening with these particular septic tanks is they're not treating the sewage. So the sewage is going into the water system. And it's been, I suppose, I think they call it primary treated, but it's not treated as in it's not safe for consumption or it's not safe for swimming.
and
yeah.
is Irish Water too big at the moment? Does it need to be broken up? Does it need to be kind of more regionalized? Should it be brought back into the local authorities like water was in the past? What are your thoughts on that?
Completely. It should be brought. That's what we're saying about centralized government and all these quangos that have been set up. Um, it definitely should be brought back to the councils and let the councils. We didn't have the issues that we have now. And as Pat and Catherine would know, we could walk into water services and have a conversation with somebody, and you'd sit down and you could tell the story about what's after happening or whatever. You can't do that with Irish Water. They give us a number that
No.
we can ring, but they're kind of, oh yeah, we'll ring you back. You know, it's not the same. And I'll tell you another crowd who are not the same. The TII, they are the bane of my life. They will not answer any questions. They will not come down and meet councils. Now, I have been calling for them for years to look at junctions where they won't look at them. And now, only now, because I've called for so long, they have agreed to meet us. They wouldn't come down to the meeting. They'll agree to meet 2 councillors from each municipal district, which is a disgrace. So we agreed that. And then they told us we've to go up to them, that they're not coming down to meet us. So that's the kind of thing that you're doing. That's what's happening with these quangos. They're all been set up and privatised and everything, and nobody to talk to, which makes our job very difficult.
Absolutely. And like the only solution here is to nationalise these services. Like the services should be under the state. You know what I mean? There's only one way. There's only one way around it.
Once you're living on a dual carriageway or a motorway system, once you're living anywhere near that the TII has control of, you're in trouble straight away as a county councillor. As you said, they don't want to talk to you, but there's other things that they don't want you to do. Like, for instance, here in my own parish of Cratloe, we were promised 2 bus stops at either side of the dual carriageway for children going to school, either in Shannon or at the other side going into Limerick. And we were promised it. We got emails saying that it would happen. And at the last minute, the TII decided in their wisdom that there's signage on the main road, and if you put up the bus stops, you couldn't see the signage. And my point was, is the children going to school more important, or is the signage more important? Could we not move the signage and put the bus stop? But they just wouldn't listen. They didn't want to know. There was another incident where we were progressing a greenway out of Shannon to join up with Brophy and on as far as 6 Mile Bridge. We had got funding for it. And then the TII, in their wisdom again, because we had to come under the dual carriageway, even though there was 2 farmers' roads there that we were going to utilise, they said no, that we had to build some sort of a system onto the side of one of the flyovers so that we couldn't go under, we had to go beside it. And if we were going to do that, then we were running into millions of euros. So hence the greenway didn't happen. It's still there, but it didn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen in the near future, because every time we try to progress it, there seems to be another stumbling block put in our way.
And even
That's very frustrating, to be fair, Pat.
Very frustrating, yeah.
You know, Roisin and I think we probably found this with TII. You know, you know yourself, Catherine, there's the N24 and the N25 in South Kilkenny and Waterford as well. Like the time it takes to just get the funds down to actually do these works from the likes of these organisations, it's, you know, go on for years, and every stage to get to the next stage you have to have funding to get to that stage, and so on and so forth. It's just the whole
Yeah,
process
and
is way too
people's
long.
lives are at risk, Paul, especially with the N24, N25 situation. Like people are taking their lives in their hands when they're driving. There's right turns across main roads. Like it's absolute madness. And it's crazy that we can't get the investment we need to upgrade those roads.
Where's all the money going?
Well, in the council as well, like we have our engineers and we have all the staff, but yet there is a fund that they have to, the councils are kind of encouraged to employ a consultant, an engineer from a consultancy firm to come out and look at what the job that the engineer that's in the council could do it. And they'll charge 3 times the amount of money. And that's covered by that's one of the policies that the government have. So we're actually paying out millions and millions of euros a year on consultants that are actually, we have the expertise in the council, but it's not been used. Planning consultants, environmental consultants.
In every county, then.
Yeah, in every county.
Yeah.
And local engineers, they know the local areas. They know everyone in the area. If they don't know everyone, they know someone who knows someone. They know where all the problems are and the local issues are. They know where if you were talking about water or infrastructure, they know, they can find out where all the old local wells were years ago and join it up. And it's ridiculous that they are outsourcing it to these high consultants when it's waste of local money in the local county council, because that money could be going somewhere very, very local.
Completely. putting it back into
Absolutely.
the roads and spending more money on the roads instead of spending it on the consultants who are coming out walking around looking at the roads,
Yeah.
you know, and or drawing the roads when we have engineers that are quite capable of doing the work
Yeah.
into
Do you
our
know,
health
I learned so
services.
much. I learned
Yeah.
so much from this program that, you know, I'd be absolutely so in awe of local county councillors. And I'm not just saying it, that's why I'm doing the program. You
Are we
know,
mad?
no, I think because I learned so much. And I come off this program, me and Paul, sometimes we sit back and we'll be talking about going, like county councillors, you're 24/7. You don't
Ah,
have a secretary, you don't have a PA, you don't have an office. And people knock at your door. Like we had a councillor from Limerick, Tommy Hardican, he was here.
yeah.
And while we were talking about homelessness. And
Yeah.
while we were talking about homelessness, someone was knocking on his door being evicted. I mean, the county councils, if it was left to the local county councils, Ireland would not be in the mess that it's in.
Completely. And we have very good staff and very good councillors. You know, I think we're like a councillor is a full-time job. It is,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you two, Catherine and Pat, will agree with me. It is a full-time job. Under the Moorhead report, Sarah Moorhouse said that councillor's job is only 18 hours a week. So that's what we're paid for, 18 hours a week. We have no staff, no admin assistants, nothing. Whereas when you look at senators and TDs, they have 2 members of staff. You know, just the libraries that they can get all this research from. The AILG, which is the Association of Irish Local Government, which is a representational body for councillors, like they do a huge amount of work on research. And if I was looking up something and I couldn't find an answer or I needed to know something that was going on in the council, you can ring them and talk to them. And that's the only thing that we have as councillors that can help us.
And I tell you,
Well,
with another thing, just from a county to council, I work full time as well as the council. And COVID had one good thing that came out of COVID, and that was that it forced local authorities to put in systems where you could log in online through Teams and whatever else to get your briefings and things. Now, I will always take off work and I will go to the municipal district meetings, I will go to the council meetings, all that kind of thing. But for the likes of road briefings now, things like that, where it might take an hour and a half, rather than having to leave work or whatever, I can log into that at work,
yeah.
listen for my hour and a half, and continue on working then afterwards. Rather than before, when I was in the council first, back in 1990, 2003, I had to leave work, even though the meeting might only be an hour, but you're gone for 3 or 4 hours between the commuting up and down and meeting somebody while you're there and having to have a chat and whatever else. But
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that COVID did, because I think if it was left up to the state or to the local government to fund it and to get it going, then it probably would never have happened. At
Yeah.
least
And
people
even,
kind of kicking the
and you-
behind that they had to do.
Yeah.
and if you make a very good point there, Pat. We were talking to Richie Malloy last week. He's an independent councillor in Tipperary, and because Tipperary is such a big county and is one council, you know, if a meeting is in, say, the north of the county, a lot of the southern councillors will go online, because it's just you're traveling maybe an hour and a half to go to a meeting, or vice versa if it's in the south. A lot of the northern councillors will go online now. Doing those type of meetings, you know, in online has probably there's pros and cons to it, absolutely, but having that, you know, option there is important.
I definitely prefer an in-person meeting. I think you
Mm.
can get more into it, you get more out of it. You know, it's sometimes it's very hard, and I find as well, because of COVID, which it was great, hybrid meetings were brilliant. You know, before, if you had a meeting in Dublin and you had a meeting down in Cork, you could only pick to go to one. You know, one might have been on at 11 in the morning, the other one might have been on at 2, but you could still only do one of them. Now you can do both of them. Even if you're down in Cork, you can still go online and listen to the one, you know, that you're on up in Dublin. So you get to kind of, I don't know, maybe that's a bad thing too, that you can do 2 and 3 meetings at a time nearly.
But I
Yeah.
think that's one of the positives that did come out of it. But I'm still amazed that and I say it now at nearly every end of every program, that county council should be a full-time job. you should be given a secretary and an office, even if it's one building for all of the county councils and a couple of secretaries or secretary each. That should be there because you do the work, you are grassroots, you're boots on the ground, you know everything that's going on, and you're the local representative that passes everything up through the political chain. And you are the forgotten powerhouse of the political system. And that's not a tagline. It was, I thought, oh, that's a great tagline. However, it's actually very real.
Well,
We are the
Roisin,
front line.
that's fine, Roisin, that's grand and saying that, Roisin, but
Yeah.
if you're married and you have a young family, we'll say you're a county councillor, maybe 35 years of age, you're trying to keep your house and all going. If you give up your job to become a full-time county councillor, and if you don't get elected in 5 years' time, where are you going to go in?
Good point.
Well, there's pros and cons that way too.
Yeah.
So
But that's
it
the
all
same,
depends on the age profile of the councillor, I think.
but as a senator or a TD and you get elected, you have to give up your job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think if they paid you properly,
Yeah.
if they gave you someone, an admin staff, every council, you should have the offices, be it hot desks or whatever in the council, but we should have a space in the council and places that we can meet, and things like that. I think it would work out a lot better. But I think, we are, a lot of the council
Yeah,
staff
they have
don't
a
like
career break.
councillors. They would prefer that you don't liaise with council. I've a couple of friends at councils that are in certain councils, and the staff they can't get through to the staff. They, like, in Laois, I have to say we have brilliant councils. We've, direct numbers for every member of staff. If you have an issue, you ring them. If they don't come back to you, send them an email, they come back to you. Like, they are very proactive, and it's a really, I think it's a really well run. This year we got a new, last year actually, wasn't it? A new county manager, and I think he has made huge changes to it, where he actually respects the councillors, and and because of that, the staff respect him, and then the councillors respect the staff, and there's a better rapport between everybody. I don't know if it's like that in your councils.
Yeah, we get a booklet out every year with every member of staff's number on it, their mobile number and their office number, and depending on their ranking, if they're, we'll say, director of services or whatever, you'll get their secretary's numbers as well, all in booklet form sent out to the house to you, or via email, whichever one you want to use yourself. But yeah, it is very good actually. I can remember my first time around, it wasn't the same way. You'd be going around the office looking for people, I suppose. Maybe mobile phones and things mightn't have been as plentiful at the time, but everybody now has a mobile phone, and everyone is told by the county manager or the chief executive now to answer the phone if it's rang by a county councillor.
Yeah, we very similar in Waterford as well, to be fair. The council executive and the staff under them are very responsive and very proactive.
Yeah, and that's good. I think it works well. Can I ask a question? Do you think that there should be a timeline on the length of time a politician can serve in a role? So if you're a county councillor, that you could spend a maximum of 20 years, and then you can either move up, you can move to either being a senator or the Dáil, or you retire, and that if you reach 65, that's the last election that you can run. You can't run one. If the election at 68, you can't run for another election. That, if it's a 20-year period. Would you agree
I
with
don't
that?
really agree. No, I don't. I think we have to be really, really careful. Like, we live in a democratic society, and the people have the voice. The people have the power to elect their representatives, and they should be able to elect whom they want. And I also would be wary of being slightly discriminatory towards people who are over 65 or whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean they're not able for the job. So no, I don't think I would agree with that. I think the people will decide who has a mandate to sit on council. And I think if you start putting in rules and regulations to that, you're veering away from democracy.
But in every other public job, you have to retire at 65 or 66. And I don't think it should be any different. And the only way you're going to get new people in, because I had a polling company. I used to do research, market research on voting and all of that. And the facts are that especially in local elections, that people will vote first for the local councillor. So the person that's most recognisable to them, they get the first vote. Then it's the local person. So if in your area, if there's a new person or whatever, it's a local person, and then it's the party, or whether independent or Sinn Féin or Fianna Fáil or whatever. And that's the way it works. So if you have somebody constantly going back for re-election, whether they're good or not, they're getting re-elected. And to change the pool, the gene pool, to stop, I think sometimes, and in some councils, there's stagnancy. The people are in it so long that they nearly become desensitized to what's going on around them. And I think it's good to have new people coming in. Like you would see when there's a new injection to any board, even when you bring in new people into it, new ideas, great ideas. Whereas after a while, like this is my second term, and I found the first time I was like, go, 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 go all the time, 100 ideas, nearly couldn't sleep with them. Now things like housing, where I was so upset about things that were happening, I've kind of not desensitized. You still do your very best, but it doesn't seem as how would you say it? It's such an important issue, but you're not as you won't go gung ho. You kind of say you've learned a little bit about it, and you're trying to calm people down and that sort of stuff. I don't know. I just think
No, to be
that
fair, you're making fair points. I'm just not sure that the way to do it. Like, obviously, I'm just a councillor for the last year and a half now, so I am in my first term. Um, but I do think stifling democracy is not the way to go ahead and do it. I think education is probably better, education of the electorate, trying to explain to the electorate about how council works and what council does, possibly something like that, rather than putting rules and regulations on who should sit on council.
yeah. And do you think what would you think of, like, so say in the councils, when it's the majority rule, so the majority so in Laois it's Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have a pact, and they take all the chairs and everything else. Now, I don't particularly want to be
It's
a
the same
chair.
in Waterford, yeah.
Yeah, I don't particularly want to be a chair. I am quite happy being in there, being able to ask the questions. That's what I got in to do. But I think that, like, I'm on a committee on an SPC, and I would think that the chair isn't as passionate about housing maybe as I would be. And I would read up an awful lot about it. I would do an awful lot of, a kind of research on things. And I think that as a chair, be it of the finance, the housing, the tourism, you should have to do a course, be it a 6-week course, be it a 3-day course, whatever. But you should have to, there's certain things that you should have to do. It's a paid position. It's an extra €6,000 a year. It's
I
taxable.
agree with you there. Yeah.
But it should, and I find that what's happening is it's the same people getting in. They're in for 5 years, and I'm on a housing SPC. We do not discuss policy, because the chair, there's 4 meetings a year. They come in, they want the meeting over in an hour, and that's it. It's kind of go down through the agenda. Let's get it over and done with. Let's get out. And when you bring up something, you're stopped. And I think it's really important. I think education. You've hit on it. It's education. It's not just of the public. It's education of the councillors as well. You
Yeah,
don't
I
need
do
a
I
degree
do
in
agree with you there.
politics.
Yeah.
You don't need
Yeah,
a degree in
absolutely.
politics, but you should have some level of understanding of local government and what's involved.
Well, maybe
Here in County Clare, just to finish up on that, we have what we call a power sharing pact, where everybody gets something. As you will say, you have the Sinn Féin will say you have the independents together in one group, Fine Gael in one group, Fianna Fáil in another group, and they sit down together maybe over 2 or 3 nights, and they do up with, say, 2 Fianna Fáil chairs of the council or mayor, 2 Fine Gael mayors, 1 independent, and then the same with the SPCs. They're broken up as well between all the different parties. We could have pacts if we wanted to have pacts, but I can remember back to the good old days when it was nothing only bickering and fighting inside the meetings where Fianna Fáil had the power. They had all the chairs, all the vice chairs, all the SPCs, everything. And then it was a matter of just taking them down if you could at any corner at all. Get a lash at them, for a better way of putting it, if you could. So I think the power sharing actually works a lot better, because you have councillors from all different political backgrounds all working together for the people of County Clare and for the betterment of the people rather than trying to swipe and get a political slap at the fella beside you because he's a different party. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like the only time we should
I
be against
agree.
each other.
I
Yeah.
agree with you there, Pat. I think that the Hunt system is probably much more preferable to the pack system, which Waterford City and County Council is under at the moment. But I do think there's an onus on elected representatives to actually vote with their hearts and their knowledge and their head and the rest of it, rather than with their political affiliations. You know, I do think councillors should have integrity and authenticity and be able to stand strong on the issues that are important to you, you know.
And not be whipped. That's what happened to me. Like I was with Fine Gael and I started to ask questions about public spending and stuff, and I was told, quiet now, you're not to say this, and the whip is going on you now. And I'd break the whip because I didn't believe it was the right thing. And I'd give the chance, I'd say, look, if you can explain to me why I should vote for this and give me the reasons why, and I agree with you, I will 100%. But if you
Well,
tell
vote
me,
for it.
if you tell me you have to vote for this regardless, for no reason, don't tell me the reason, I'm not going to do it. And I think that's important, that people are able to stand up and say, I don't agree with this and shouldn't be punished for it.
And that's
And
democracy.
that's our jobs.
Yeah, that's what you're
We're
elected
elected
to
by the
do.
people, and the only time we really should be against each other is at election time. And then once we're elected, we should come in and it should be about everyone working together for the betterment of the people and to do as much as we can to make everybody's lives easier and not fighting and just doing something because I say something, someone else will go against it just because, they don't think I'm right. But they'll bring it up again in 3 months' time as if it's their idea.
I know, I know that's very common, and especially we were talking about that last week, I think, in the last week's episode about county councillors taking ideas and saying, "Oh, I got that through," when it was actually another county councillor that got that through. And I think that's why I love listening to this conversation. We've just slightly gone over time, but it's great. If you're willing to talk, we're willing to listen and we're willing to stay. But I just been constant awe of the work that you do and how you all work cross-party for the betterment of your communities and your counties, and you all work together. And I actually think there's a lot more common sense in it with the county councillors, and sometimes when you open the door and you're listening to the theatre up there, and really when you come down to the county councillors, you go, look, they're all working together. They all have the same solutions to the same problems. Why are they not being implemented?
Absolutely. It kind of seems to me as well, Roisin, that once you get elected to the county council, whatever jersey you're wearing seems to be irrelevant. It's Team Waterford or Team Laois or Team Clare, which is important. I think what you brought up as well, Pat, as well, that the whole pack system, I don't think it benefits local councils having, say, one party or one group kind of dominate, and I don't think it's healthy either.
Well, I don't think I could ever be under a party whip.
Yeah, and same.
I could
Well, I
never.
got in to do a job which was to represent the people. So I feel that that's that's what I'm driven by. And if somebody asks me to do something, and if I believe it's right, I'll do it. And
Well,
likewise,
I think there was a lot more between parties 20 years ago than there is now. And I think as a county councillor, we're in there to do a job as a county councillor. And I wouldn't be answering questions for the likes of our Dáil representatives, or Oireachtas members. People ask me a question, I'd say, well, I'll ring our Oireachtas member and I'll get him to ring you back or her to ring you back. I'm not going to be trying to answer questions. My job as a county councillor is to represent the people on the ground. And if them people want something above that, well, then I get on to one of my political colleagues in the Dáil to sort them issues out. There was a time there when we were maybe trying to take the slack for things that the government was doing wrong, which that wouldn't happen ever again in my book anyway. There's people there getting paid a lot more than I'm getting paid, and them are the people that should be taking responsibilities, and them are the people that I'll be ringing, asking to know, why can't we do 10% of our roads? Why are you telling us that we should do 10% and then sending us down money to do 5%? Them
Yeah.
other people should be answering them questions, not the likes of us on the ground. We're only the messengers back to the people, and we're representing the people on the ground. And that's the way I look at it every day of the week when people come to me.
Well, I could go on talking to you all, like all you every week I could go on talking and talking, but I'm conscious you all have families. It's a Friday night, you have lives. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time on your Friday night to come on and talk to us. I've thoroughly enjoyed this again tonight. I say that every week, but I actually do know the county councillors. I think because you are the heart of your communities, and I'm a truly person that politics starts local in the local communities, and it does a full circle, and it comes back to local politics. And I just want to
Okay.
thank you for
Thank you.
being the voice and serving the people. I know politicians get a very bad press, especially on social media and stuff like that, and not just social media, but everything. But you do get elected, and you do. At the end of the day, people have a democracy, and people vote for who actually serves their community. And that's something the county councillors are. People vote for you not because of party affiliation. They vote for you because your likability, your approachability, and you deliver. And if you can't deliver, you tell the people, I can't deliver. You're honest. And so thank you so much indeed. I'm not saying
Thank you,
anybody
Roisin.
else isn't honest. I'm just saying that you're honest with the constituents. Disclaimer. So, but thank you so much. You are definitely the county councillors, the forgotten powerhouse of the political system. Well, we're trying here in the Irish Political Roundup to make sure we bring you back to front and centre. So you are the front and centre of the political powerhouse here in Ireland.
Thank you, Roisin.
And
Thanks
hope
so
to
much.
see you on again.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Roisin and Paul. And it's lovely getting to chat with you, Catherine and Pat.
Yeah.
Likewise.
I'm sure we'll meet at a few training days or something.
Or maybe
It
we'll
was
have you
lovely
back
to
on
meet you
here
all.
again. We'll get you back
Excellent.
on together again. Yeah, we will. With John as well, and Michael. So perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
It's
Okay,
been a
guys.
bye-bye.
pleasure.
Slán
Thank
live.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Matt. Bye-bye now.